Welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast with Keith McKeever.
Welcome back to another episode of the Battle Buddy Podcast. I have the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Patrick Burt here today, and we're going to talk a little bit about some social media or website stuff, SEO, things like that. He is the expert.
You'll probably talk about all of it anyway.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about all of it. There's no telling which way we go. You are like the man in that digital space, that's for sure. So I'm really excited to try and get you on here for a while. So I'm excited to have you here and break down some of this stuff, because I think there's a lot of people that have websites, and it's not just business owners, right?
Yeah.
There's people that have hobby websites and stuff like that, and there is a struggle to SEO and all that stuff. It's like the old fairy tales, right? The dark, scary woods, that the Prince Charming has to go in and rescue the princess from. Like, we all look at it like this is this weird world we're not used to unless you're kind of in it every day.
Right.
And it's like, oh, how do I bite this off? How do I do that? But you got some stuff we're going to talk about that might kind of be a torch to carry through the woods, for lack of a better term. So without further ado, Patrick, tell us a little bit about your story. You're a Marine. What got you into the Marine Corps? What'd you do in the Marine Corps? What got you to where you're at today?
So let's see. I would say I decided to be a Marine. I think I was about 7 or 8. And I saw my dad's his blues cover, and I was like, what is this? I don't know what this is. This is a funny looking hat. And then that's when I was old enough to understand like what the Marines were, and I realized that my dad did I think 8 years, and then my grandfather did I think like 20 years in Vietnam. So I always knew, out of high school, I'm like, I ain't going to college. Nah. So I enlisted at 18. That was 2012. I didn't do anything super crazy while I was in. I was a turbo pogue. I worked on radios and calibrations and all types of stuff like that. But
hey, you got to communicate.
Went to Japan, Mississippi, Barstow, California, and it was in Japan that I had an old buddy that actually reached out to me and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know, day drinking in the barracks. What else is there to do?" And he's like,
"What does everybody else do?"
Yeah, I'm like, "What? Like video games?" And he's like, "You wanna learn something?" And I'm like, "Sure." So that's when I was first introduced into digital marketing, and this was like 2015, when things were super, super early on. And I was talking with people about getting them Instagram followers, and like that was my first start of digital marketing. Now, of course, that was a while ago. Since then, I've worked with like 1,700 different businesses in various industries, tackling anything from ads to web design to SEO. Mainly SEO. That's my jam. But I've got a full team behind me, so we do. You pay us, we'll do it. No.
Absolutely. That's why I was excited to have you on here, because we've talked so many times. I know SEO is your thing, but you do a lot of Facebook Lives and a lot of posts on social media about all these different things. So I know people are gonna recognize your name and recognize your face, and from the content that you're putting out there in Vetrepreneur Tribe and other places. So, but I want to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit on this. Like I said, this SEO thing it's kind of scary, and
it is.
In some ways, you don't really know exactly what it is, right? It's all about being optimized so that search engines can pick it up, right? So that you rank higher. Because if you're a business owner, I get these text messages or emails all the time. I found your website and you're not ranking high enough, every single day. And unfortunately, there's some people that don't know enough about it, and they're just going to click on it, and then they're going to pay these companies huge amounts of money to do nothing,
right?
Like literally nothing,
right?
They're probably not even going to communicate back. They're just probably going to take your money, right? There's a good chance they're a scam, most cases. But it's this thing that's it's been around for a long time. We've had websites for a long time, but a lot of people don't know what it is. And there's what did I see the other day? Something like this is interesting, and I'm probably gonna get the numbers wrong, but websites in like the year 2000, there was only like 200 million websites.
I
There's
would.
like 1.9 billion websites right now.
Oh, I'd say there's more than that. I mean,
That could have been an old article, but that's something I saw the other day, and I was like, wow, yeah, that really doesn't surprise me. Like,
I mean,
they
that
made it so
sounds
easy to
like
create a website.
yeah, that sounds like that could be right. Because like I've always been big into computers, and so like the internet's always been something that interested me. And the Google project, what Google was originally founded on, was to index the internet. But of course, whenever Google got started, the internet was like, oh yeah, let's just get a few million websites, and we have the internet now. And now there's gigabytes, and then terabytes, and then like petabytes, and then more. But there's like unfathomable amount of information out there. Like there's it's getting close to like celestial numbers. Like whenever you're like counting stars and stuff, it's getting to like, oh yeah, that's the amount of bytes of information out there. It's really dumb.
That does not surprise me, because
Yeah.
I can picture it like this. When I joined the military and I went on my first deployment, I went to the base exchange. I was in Japan too, so I went to the exchange and I bought a hard drive. Now this freaking hard drive was 12 inches long. It was a triangle thing. It had a push button to start. It had the whole brick charger. it was not as long as you might be thinking. 2006. And it had 128 gigabytes, and it was the biggest and nicest semi-portable hard drive there was at the exchange. And boy, did I fill that thing up. Now I've got a terabyte in my desktop. I've got 500 gigabytes on my laptop. I've got a 5 terabyte hard drive plugged into my computer right now. And and I think I spent 150, 160 bucks on that original hard drive. And I spent 75. It was like, I want to say it was like 75 to 100 bucks or something for this 5 terabyte. Like, it's just unbelievable how much more storage you get for the money.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's just digital storage
around it. And I can't remember the guy who found, but it's like a mathematical law, and it's like, I think it's every 3 years, the technology it improves by a magnitude of like 10 or something, or 3, I can't remember, but pretty much it's like every 3 years, the form factor in which our like chips are decreases by like a nanometer. And I know that's like, oh, well, that's nothing, but that makes jumps from 100 gigabytes to, oh yeah, now we can have hard drives with the terabyte,
Yeah, I've got a little like waterproof, it's a cheap GoPro camera thing right here that I bought for vacation last year. And I mean, this is unbelievable too. 512 gigabyte micro SD card. I remember, I'm old enough and yet young enough to remember floppy disks.
I remember floppy disks. I never used them, but I remember floppy disks. I remember building my first computer, and we were like, this thing's got a 50 gigabyte hard drive. Hell yeah, let's play some Call of Duty 1. Like,
man, I was already like probably out of high school by that point in time.
Yeah,
I remember with like literally like 25 kilobytes or whatever,
I mean, damn, phones have like 512, but yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting how the internet's grown. And I think to sum up what SEO is, like I said, it's originally started because Google wanted to index the internet, but the internet got so big that Google actually had to really create this algorithm that can identify and sort through all this information. So SEO is the art. I like to call it an art instead of a science of basically showing showing up to those people whenever they search for something. So search engines have a process, and you have kind of mainly 3 parts. So you have that first step, which is the indexing, or start crawling, where Google has these bots which go out to all ends of the internet and just crawl pages and be like, hey, here is a website, here is a page. Not 100% sure on what it is, but let's essentially bookmark this and have somebody else come out here and do deep digging later. So that's crawling. So a lot of SEO is going to be optimizing so that you can be found and be crawled. And then the next step is going to be indexing. This is typically what people think of whenever they talk about SEO. So indexing is whenever your site gets like looked at. And I might be messing this up. I might have the order backwards, waiting for this caffeine to hit. But the point still stands. So Google will go, yeah, for real. Google will go through the website in depth and look at, just like you said, you have your keywords, your metadata, the code, page speed. There's about 200 different factors that actually go into what Google looks at to determine if a website is good or not.
That's way more than I even expected.
Oh yeah,
wow.
It's pretty dumb.
That's a lot. So that's everything on your website, basically.
Oh yeah,
look at it.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that number is just the like, hey, here are the meaningful ones, and there's actually a lot more that are like, these aren't meaningful, but this is something technically on the list. But you can go. So SEO isn't some mystical thing that only Matrix hackers can learn about, right? Anybody can go to Google. So Google actually has their own website, which like is centered around education of all of this, how it works, how you can do it. And there's different levels to this. So they have like a baby beginner one, all the way up to like I can't remember the name of the paper, but it's like the SEO Bible, and it says, hey, here's what we look for in raw text. And it is like a 90-page document of, I mean, you're like reading a Congress letter. Like it's
sounds like something to put you to sleep at night.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm more of a YouTube video kind of guy. I'm just saying,
yeah.
Give me the nuts and the bolts.
Yeah. So you have all that. And that's what people typically think of when they think of SEO, is they have somebody come in and clean that up. And then the third step is going to be serving. So this is where Google has already crawled, it's already indexed you, and this is where you type something in, you type in a query to Google, and then Google runs through, based on what has been indexed and what has been crawled, it will give a specific result that fits the situational variables, such as, you know, your search history, where are you located, what are you probably looking for, what do you mean? The AI goes really in depth. And it was something like there's like 3 million searches every month or something. Or actually, it's probably a lot more than that. But there's a lot of searches that happen very frequently that Google have never received before. And so the AI will learn, and its whole purpose of Google is to guess what you're actually looking for. Like, you ever look up one of those songs that you can't remember, and you're like, a song that goes like da dun da dun da, and like you
and
Google
boom,
stupid shit.
Yeah.
Like,
or you search like where to eat for lunch today, and all of a sudden it just gives you restaurant choices like in your area, and it's, and you never stop to think of how are they doing that. This merging of the physical world and the digital world is quite astonishing sometimes.
So that's kind of a top-down view of how SEO works and what it is. In order to let's get into some actionable things for SEO and as to what you could do. Again, SEO really isn't super complicated if you're just like, hey, I'm just trying to pop up in my local area. If you're trying to compete against Walmart, then best of luck, for one.
Yeah, you're not going to. There's a certain, I'm in real estate, right? And I'll just say, like, my personal website is never going to compete with Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Homes.com, Remax, Keller Williams. Like, it's just not. Like, you just don't have the budget. You don't have the skill. You don't have the staff. It's never going to happen. But we can be in that next tier.
Yeah, I mean, we had a company that we worked with, which was about 150 locations around the country, and they did COVID tests. And I mean, we got them from like 3 million a month to 15 million a month in under 4 months. But we were competing with like Walgreens and CVS. Like, it was absurd. We couldn't topple them, but obviously we can compete with them. But yeah, I mean, it's possible, but like the actionable things that you can do there, it's not so much like, oh, you just need to have your website look pretty. You need to create content. And that's one thing that people typically forget about whenever they think about SEO. They think of, I need code to be good, not I need to write blogs. And so that's where I break things up into ultimately 3 parts for SEO. So 1, you have your offsite SEO. These are going to be typically for local things, but you can do things like getting on Google My Business, getting on Yelp, getting on Manta, Bing, Yahoo, all that fun stuff. Don't have to pay a dime to any of these companies, but having your business on these profiles and linking it to your website, having your social media linked up there, putting in your picture, filling it out. Filling it out, very, very important.
I can tell you in my industry, I see that a lot that is not done. It is unbelievably how many realtors, and we're local, right? It's a local business. You want to be found and discovered locally, and you want, I can't really imagine too many businesses where you don't want to be discovered anywhere.
Yeah.
And like you said, those are good platforms. I mean, everybody has their opinions on Yelp and some of those things, but they're free. Go set up the platform. Set yourself a reminder to go review it once a year. I'm not a big fan either, but set up the profile, put the picture on there, make the links, go review it once a year. Just once a year, make sure everything's accurate. And that's all you got to do. Like it's not that hard to upload a picture and links to websites.
It's so important to a business that my entry into SEO was doing just that. And it was it was so important, and people needed it so much that, I mean, we just by doing that alone at a $250 price point, we had like 250 people that we were taking care of at one point in time. They needed it. It helps tremendously. And it's something that people just completely forget about. They'll handle Google and Facebook. And that's it, but that's the majority of the actionable offsite things that you can do. Some other simple things, pop up on podcasts, get interviewed, do stuff like that, and just, link websites and stuff like that. Now for on-site, this is where we get into technical SEO. So big things for on-site SEO, you'll want to do making sure, 1, you have your content on your website. So throwing in keywords in your descriptions, throwing in keywords in your text, very important. There's an aspect called keyword density. So you don't want to go ham and just like hammer down this keyword, because Google will pick that up and be like, yeah, this doesn't sound good for a human to read. And
is that what they call keyword stuffing or something like that? Where you're just putting too much stuff in there, and it doesn't flow. It doesn't sound natural.
Right.
Because I know some websites will just pick up like what the content. They'll read the content on the page, and they'll create those descriptions and stuff for you based off that.
Pretty much. So that's something you want to watch out for. That used to be smart. Now it's not. Now it will get you blacklisted. Another thing about that, which I technically is offsite, but I'm going to bring this up here. Never pay for backlinks. The only backlinks you should ever pay for are going to be like one-off. Hey, I'm getting you in a news article. Do not pay for bundles of 500 backlinks. Do not pay for you do not buy backlinks off Fiverr. Like don't do stuff like that. That will tank your ranking faster than anything you could pay to get it up.
I've got a perspective on that, and that's business is relational. And if you want backlinks, some of like Yelp, right? You just put it on there. But if you're going to link to another business owner's website, build that relationship.
Yeah.
Find that collaboration effort. Talk to them. Figure out, hey, let's help each other out here. Like we're business affiliates or whatever, right? Build that relationship, and then it's real. It's genuine. Everybody knows it, and you can actually grow even more outside of the digital realm. So that's my take on that.
But yeah, I mean, that's super important. But yeah, diving into the website, you don't need to do anything crazy. Throw some keywords in there. Make sure whenever you're going through your website, you have things filled out. personally, build your websites on WordPress. That's the best. But if you have like Wix or Weebly, if you have Weebly, I'm sorry, but if you have Wix or Squarespace, you can go into the back ends of these sites. Now, I will be upfront with you. These sites aren't built with freedom in mind. They're built as a software as a service. You pay for the platform and you get everything bundled together, and it's very convenient. However, you go into the back end, you're going to learn really quick that you can't really touch a lot of things. So SEO on these, you can't do a lot. You're not going to get great results, but at a bare minimum, go through, check the button, pop in some things here and there. There'll be some boxes you can fill, and make sure you do that. And even with WordPress, go in, whenever you put in your pictures, make sure that they're not 10 gigabytes big, make sure that they're small, make sure that they have descriptions, make sure that they have metadata behind it. Whenever you go through and build out the website, make sure you don't have broken links everywhere, no 404s, stuff like that. I mean, it's if you keep SEO in mind when you're building a website, it's really not anything wild. SEO gets very hard whenever people don't build websites with it in mind. And then we get into the website and we're like, we gotta rebuild all this,
There's no links nowhere. There's no information, nothing.
Uh,
It's just some crap thrown on a page.
Links and there's pages going to the duplicate content. And one thing that people don't realize, if you have an e-commerce business and you have duplicate content, it's very easy to do that, because if computers don't necessarily know to not do it, if let's say this is another customer in a unique cart ID, and now you have, before you know it, you have 5,000 pages of the same product with different URLs and just different IDs. Like you go to or let's say you click on a link from Facebook and it has the StreamYard.com/FBID and a stupid amount of numbers and letters. Those links and pages can get out of control if you don't have the settings done the right way, and all of them will be saved. So I had a conversation with a dude and he's like, what have you guys been doing for the last 4 months? And I'm like, well, we've been working on your images. And he's like, what do you mean? I only have 15 products on my site. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you have about 10,000 images that we had to redo and delete and go and update. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, here are the links to them all. And he's like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes. But if you build a website with SEO in mind, and all you got to do is just not build it broken, and then and you'll typically be fine. And then just add things on top of itself. SEO isn't supposed to be hey, I'm going to pay for this once and I'm going to get the results. It's supposed to be okay, I'm going to constantly work on this over and over and over, because more than anything, consistency is what's actually going to bring results in SEO.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can find a website from 1995 that could still be ranking high and still kicking butt out there. Because they've updated. Well, they haven't updated it, but they maybe add content. And they've done the right things.
I mean, content, bringing it to the third part is huge, because you can have a number one website, you can have absolute 100% SEO score on your website, but if you don't put out something new, Google essentially scans the website again and says, well, nothing's changed, so I guess these guys don't do anything, But putting out relevant content consistently, it doesn't even have to be good. I mean, whenever we write our blogs, we write them for Google. And a lot of businesses are worried about oh, I need to write to the customers. And I'm like, look, I'll be level with you. You're starting out. Nobody's going to read your blog. Just being honest. Focus on getting it for Google first.
Yeah. I mean, I've taken all my podcast episodes and I've transcribed them. Created blog posts off of them. I've dropped the video in there as a link too, and an audio file, so you can watch it, you can listen to it, or you can read it. And I've seen some impact. I mean, you just log in sometimes, you're like, wow, I don't know what happened. I just got 30 listens, extra listens in one day. That just all of a sudden you see incremental rises, and all of a sudden you see a jump, and you're like,
oh yeah.
What happened?
I've
You know,
got
so
a
it does help. You know, I did that like a month ago. You know, and I've
yeah.
noticed these changes periodically, and I'm like, this is weird.
There's a guy that I know, and you probably know him as well. Everybody knows him in the tribe, that has a podcast that all he does is follow me. He followed my advice. Not even my. We never had consultation calls. I never dived into anything. But he just followed my posts, and he's now in like the top 10 in the world for veteran podcasts. And I mean, you're gonna be up there too. Like it's not hard to do, but consistency. Now, he has been following me and doing what I've been telling him to do for the last like 2 years. But honestly, I mean, man, this is outside of business or anything. This is just life in general. If you can get out of instant gratification and you can really lean into, let me invest in the future, let me just do something consistently for 2 years, 3 years, you will be ahead of like 80% of your peers, if not more than that. I mean, I'm
Oh,
20.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm 27, and I ain't smart, I ain't rich or fancy or blessed, or I kind of had a average fucking life, right? But I stuck to the same thing, and I dedicated to learning a skill for years, and now I am beyond just about everybody else that I graduated with.
Yeah,
Um,
reading and studying and being consistent, that helps. And that leads right to a question I was going to ask you later, kind of about mindset and staying positive on these things, because this is the long game. This isn't
mhm,
you make some changes and next week you start getting more visitors to your website, or you start getting more leads, or you notice big changes. It's consistency.
mhm.
You got to stay consistent with content
Like
and with what you do,
like what
and
they
because it's
say,
long
man.
term. It's
Was it trust the process? Trust the process. That's it. I have been in some very dark situations that I had no idea, and I actually just talked to an old friend today about this too, and I was and she was like, I feel so lost, and I don't understand, and I don't like feeling uncertain. And I'm like, hey, can I give you a pro life tip? And she's like, lay it on me. What do you got? And I'm like, you will never not feel uncertain. That is part of life. And embracing that uncertainty is actually going to make it more enjoyable, because you have to learn to let go and just trust the process. Trust, if I go to the gym and I do my eating right for 6 months, I will see improvements. You have to trust it, and disconnect from that. What if it doesn't happen? That anxiety. And if you could do that, um, I mean, not only will you be tremendously happier, but you will get where you're trying to go. It's impossible to do the right actions and not get the result. You need to be uh, patient with the action, or no, patient with the result, impatient with the action.
I was just gonna say, I mean, a road is not straight either,
Yep.
right? I
Yep.
mean, you need to be consistent, but as you navigate through things, you're gonna zig and you're gonna zag, and you're gonna have hills to climb, and in other times you're gonna speed up, you're
And
gonna
and
slow
one
down.
thing.
Like it's the journey.
Mhm, mhm. One thing that I was told by somebody that is much more successful than I am is to find the path least taken, um, and to take the hard path, because people in society inherently does not like to do anything difficult. I mean, obviously, everybody loves comfort, so
We're pretty good at that
taking
as
the
Americans.
yeah, taking the uneasy path, or the path least taken. Let's put this into perspective for business. Everybody's trying to start up a t-shirt company. Everybody's trying to start up these little bitty things, right? But everybody's trying to do these in order to get quick money. They're like, well, I want to get out of my 9 to 5, so let me make a t-shirt business, and well, everybody else is doing it, so I can do it. But the people that are successful are like, hey, I understand right off the bat that I am not going to make money from this for like 2 years. So if I go in with that mentality, and I just invest and I do things right, and I make sure that I spend the money where I need to, and I don't even take a penny from this company and just put it straight back into it. that's how people get to the point to where they have a successful, hey, they're pocketing 10, 20 grand from an e-commerce business without having to, be a millionaire right off the bat. It just takes time, but do what people aren't willing to do, and there will always be value. Any business, you do the marketing, you do the hard work people don't want to do, posting, SEO, shaking hands, it's so easy to get ahead these days because every business owner just wants to have leads handed to them, and all you got to do is just work, and you'll surpass everybody.
Yeah, and you get some great points there. Like t-shirts, coffee is another one. No offense to some of our friends that in the coffee business, business as a whole,
but yeah,
you have to solve a problem. If you're not solving a problem, you don't have a business, and that's where I'll pick on Jose, Third Day Coffee Seguin, past guest, great guy. He does something unique, right? It's not necessarily solving a problem, but it's unique. He's got Mesquite's roasted coffee. It's a flavor you're not going to get anywhere else. So it's either solving a problem or creating a unique, something that sets you apart. But there's so many people that, like you say, get into those business, right? It could be t-shirts, it could be all these other things, and they don't have anything that sets them apart. You're doing I'm going to pick on the t-shirts for a second because so many veteran-owned t-shirt companies, they all have a flag on the sleeve, right? It identifies it, and they're all a set series of colors.
I'll tell you how
they all look the same, and it's like where are you different? Where's the polo shirts?
I got briefed on that whenever I was EASing, and my CEO was like, "Hey, you're not going to get out and do some fucking t-shirt business, right?" And I'm like, "No." Like, how a lot of these companies are doing, and this is something else that I was told. If there are courses on how to build it, you're too late. It's already you've missed the boat. You're having an uphill battle. If there is a course on how to build an e-commerce business to sell t-shirts, don't sell t-shirts because I can guarantee you there's already 50 swinging dicks in your vicinity doing the same thing. So
I'd probably throw a stone in my
exactly.
town here and hit somebody who makes t-shirts.
Exactly.
It's a side business.
It's like you need to have unique value propositions, and t-shirts can be good. And every single person that I talk to, it's the exact same thing. I'm like, hey, apparel, good. It is a good brand. I've seen brands go from nothing to solid, but how they do it is all in how they present themselves. Nobody, and I did a post on that. I don't know if you saw this post, but nobody, even your friends, are going to buy a t-shirt from you just because you have a fucking t-shirt. There has to be some reasoning behind it. If you are trying to sell designs, then you need a story behind the designs. Why? And if you're in the veteran space, it can't just be, hey, I'm a veteran, buy it because you support veterans. Of course. Or 22 or whatever the usual ones are. You have to have something unique. I found there's a designer apparel company. Now they've done all types of stuff, but it was called Black. It was blvck.com, and they're out of Paris, and they started as it was probably just a dude making a thing, and it was t-shirts and stuff, and everything was just black. It was it was like the was it like off-white, but it was just everything was black, and it was just like that type of luxury appeal. But they were successful because they had a market, they had a niche. They're like, hey, we're not just t-shirts, everything is black, everything is like high end, and they were able to leverage that to build. For veterans, you could do the same thing. Hey, we're not just another 22 with like t-shirts with skulls that are ungodly.
Yeah, there's no mission behind. That's why I mentioned Jose, because his coffee is religious based. It's mesquite smoke.
Exactly.
It's different. It's unique. Like I said, you're not gonna get a flavor anywhere else. And he's not paying me for promotion, by the way. But I do have his coffee upstairs. But like, it's unique, right? And then his mission is tied to his faith in God,
right?
And then portions of his proceeds go to help the actual farms where he gets his coffee in Honduras. Like there's that mission, and it's awesome. And how can you not want to support a guy like that?
Exactly.
But other people just go start a coffee company. They go get a roaster. They buy some coffee. They roast it and say, "Hey, buy for me." And it's like
why?
Yours isn't a brown bag like everybody else's. It
Yeah,
tastes like everybody else's. Look, you've got all the flavors of everybody else's. There's some other people I know that have coffee, and they've got some unique additives in it that, CBD and some stuff like that.
Yeah,
And,
those are good.
that's another interesting take. It's offering something a little different,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have to be too much.
That unique value proposition is very, very important. And a lot of people forget about that and assume they think if I build it, they will come. And it's true to a certain extent. But there needs to be a reason behind it. Just like I said, I made a post the other day, and it was I snagged it from some dude that was like really complaining, but he was whining about like, you open up a business and sell water for $1 and your friend's going to go and buy it somewhere else for $3. And it's like, well, you can whine and complain about that, but actually that's your fault as a business owner, because you assume that just because your friend is your friend that he's going to buy from you. But people, no matter who, where, what, people, there needs to be value. And this is even with family. I mean, you have a business that sells food. Your family isn't going to buy from you just because you sell it, but you have to talk to them and get them to convince them to buy it because they like it. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what it is. There has to be some sort of value, needs-based, something.
Yeah, because family's not always going to support you.
Yeah.
That's
a whole nother conversation.
I have had family as clients. I've also had family not call me for different things. And, and I know other people that I've had conversations with, and they're like, so-and-so in my family, they didn't use me. They went with my competitor, or they just never come and they never get a service or products from me. And it's like, maybe your product or service is something that they're not interested in. Maybe it's not a need of theirs, but who knows? But family, it's weird. You get into business, you think, well, my family's going to support me. But I'm just telling anybody who's listening, you don't have to look very far for plenty of examples of people that'll pound the table like we are right now. The family is not going to support you to the level you think they are.
Yeah, just because
it's not going to happen.
I mean, it's really funny because I've seen more friends and family, not in my business, because obviously, but like in other people's businesses, I've seen more of their friends and family not buy from them, not because they didn't want to support them, but just because they didn't know, or it wasn't top of mind. And that leads to marketing. Nobody is above marketing. I mean, you have to market. It doesn't matter who it is. If you're not top of mind in a world where attention is the ultimate currency, secondary to time, technically they're kind of the same thing, but I mean, if you're not on top of somebody's mind, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good the product is. It doesn't matter how much of a relationship. I've lost deals that with other Marines that we've had hour-long conversations, and they're just like, oh shit, man, I forgot. Like, I forgot you did that. And I'm like, that's my bad.
That's another piece of business advice, because my goal is to have, actionable stuff. If you're in business and you're listening to this, even if you're not, even if just a regular person, you should make a list of all those people you use, right? You go to the same doctor. You probably go to the same dentist. Use that same real estate agent. Use that same insurance company. I mean, maybe every now and then you should look to change, but the same lender, the same banks, right? Just kind of build this list of people and organizations that you want to support, and that's your go-to list first, right? If somebody needs SEO and they call Patrick, and maybe it's just something that's just not in your wheelhouse or your company's wheelhouse for some reason, maybe you can refer them to somebody else, or at least they went to you first. I'm actually in the process of doing that for my business, and looking at all of the people. I'll keep it real estate, all the service providers that are out there. There's some newer companies, some inspectors have gotten out of the business. Now I got to find some new inspectors, and I got to build my list of preferred vendors. I kind of need to reassess that after so many years. That way when I refer people to people, I've got those go-to people.
And one thing I will say on top of that too, competition isn't always bad. A lot of people, like I did this post the other day, and it was talking about competition, and there were a few people that were like, "Oh, competition! I don't have competition," and I'm like, "Yeah, you do." And competition is really good, because competition it gives you an opportunity to look at things from a different perspective. Like, I'll be the first to say that I check up my competitors every now and then just to see what they're doing. And I'll typically see that they thought of something that I didn't think of. And then I'll be like, I'm going to take that, make it better, and make it my own, make it more valuable than what they did, and then release it. And then essentially we play that game back and forth. But
iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or sometimes you look at your competitors, or you find something, you start looking around and be like, can't believe nobody else is doing this.
Oh, exactly. I'm like,
and then you got something. You got something big. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's competition is good, and you should have more than one name on some of those. Maybe you only need one doctor, one dentist, but identify, I don't know, a couple of plumbers in your local area. You never know when you're gonna need a plumber, an electrician, right? Get those names, get the information, put it down in one place, and
buy rent.
One of these days, man, we'll find you a house. How about that? I got some people. I got some people in the Houston area. We'll get you hooked up. But you just got to have that network of people. It's if I was going to write a book, I know 2 or 3 people that are authors, right? Like, those are my go-to people in the back of my mind if I've got questions about writing or organization or editing or any of that stuff. If I ever went down that path, like, you get to know people, and you should at least in your mind,
I know better than to go down that path.
You should at least in your mind, like, know who your people are in your little tribe to go to. So
because I mean, you do that. Another super simple thing, which I'm starting to do this year, which I did a little bit every now and then, but just shout out other people. Because it will show that you're grateful for what you have. It will show that you're not an arrogant SOB. It'll show that you're a helpful, friendly person. But also, you shout out your friend. Let's say you have a plumber. Be like, "Hey guys, I just wanted to drop this guy over here. Does great stuff. He fixed my whatever. Check him out." And then you'll be surprised that just because you did that plumber that you just name dropped is probably gonna be like, he's a good guy. And now you're gonna be on top of his mind whenever somebody asks him, "Hey, where can I get a realtor?" And it takes 30 seconds, and it is so powerful. Because especially nowadays, everybody is very, very selfish. So I've closed more deals just by showing people like, "Hey, look, I just want to help you out." And people are like, "Well, you're honest and you genuinely just want to help me out, not take my money. Dude, let's get started." And it's the same thing for everything else. Again, like, name drop some friends that have businesses, shout them out. People love that. And they'll love that. And then you're not a dick. So
yeah, the business owner really loves it. I mean, honestly, I'd love it if local people were giving a shout out to my business. It's because it is this digital world with 1.9 billion websites that are out there. It's cloudy, right? Our attention. We don't watch commercials anymore. If I'm watching TV, I'm watching it on a streaming device. I'm watching something that aired 6 months or 5 years ago. And then if a commercial comes on, my phone is next to me and I'm on Facebook for the 2 or 3 minutes that same thing during sports games. They go to commercial. No idea what's on the commercial.
Well, let me change to another.
Yeah, you do something like that. Like, our attention is always on that digital space, so it's hard to cut through that clutter. And that's where the SEO, right, and getting your website, getting your presence out there, it goes so much farther. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do for your social media and stuff too. But, it's bringing it back to that SEO, I'll ask you this question. What is like maybe one thing somebody could do today, this week, to really improve their situation when it comes to SEO?
So when it comes to SEO, first things first, like I said, you have your offsite. So go through, do all those. That is free. It's just going to take time. It's going to suck, but do that. So that's like a quick, easy step. Number two, on Google My Business, focus on getting reviews. And here's something that not a lot of people know. The reviews and the review responses also get scanned and indexed by Google. So if, let's say you're out there working for reviews, be like, hey, I'd really appreciate if you can either use a template or like say me by name or say what we did. And then whenever you respond, you go through the same thing. My template was like, hey, John, I appreciate you using ABC Company here in XYZ City. Anytime you need ABC service, be sure to hit us up and I'll be happy to help you out. And that hits all of your keywords. And a cool thing, you can go back to old responses and edit them. And you can do that. So you can make them all do that. So that's a really good actionable thing. Going through your website and just making sure that all of your pictures are not massive. That's a very easy one to do.
Do you think it helps to use something like Canva and kind of create an image template and put everything on that one standard size?
So,
or that's just
standardizing, I mean, it's not necessarily going to be size in terms of how big. I mean, that will play a part for design.
Well, it'll help with your design, yeah.
Right. It's more so going to be in terms of size of file size. So there's a lot of compressors that you can do, which will put a photo through and it'll make it a quarter the size, but still make it pretty. Do that because that will make your overall website load faster, which can help people from bouncing off. It can help conversions. It can help with SEO. It can help with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of those out there. I actually use those for my real estate business on some reports. Some websites only take like 25 megabytes or less. And
yeah,
your smartphones these days, they take higher quality photos than that in some cases.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So I've had to go do that before. And sometimes I mean like 20 photos, one at a time to make them smaller. But yeah, that's a good idea. And it doesn't change the pixels or anything. It just kind of shrinks the size. So that's something to take a look at. I'm probably guilty of that on all my websites too. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean that's
a moment of vulnerability.
Very common one. Yeah, that's a very common one. I wouldn't feel too bad.
Just made my weekend busy. I have to go back there and review all those, but it's easy fix. I think
it's super easy. A lot of SEO is going to be very easy. Like you're not doing more than like going in and adding a link or going in and like uploading something or changing a word to another word. If you really look at it, it's just you're doing a lot of it. And so it just takes a lot of time, but it's not complicated. You don't need to be we're not doing like rocket surgery or anything. So you don't have to do anything crazy.
And I'm a big time management guy. And so my advice to people would be to time block, right?
Yeah.
Maybe take your website and I don't know what the average number of pages is on a website. Let's just say you got 50 pages. Just write them all down.
30 minutes a day.
Yeah, exactly. Do 30 minutes or an hour or just, hey, look, for the next 50 days, I'm going to tackle one page at a time. I'm going to go in, make sure that all the words are right, make some edits, put some new content on that page, make sure the image sizes are all, just make your little checklist. You can't go wrong with checklists. Okay. Yeah. This is a military and veteran podcast. We all know about checklists because we all had them in our jobs.
Because I like to talk to my mom like frequently and we'll talk and I'm like, man, I got all this stuff. She's like, are you writing it down? I'm like, no. She's like, you should do that. That'll make it easier. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, time block and project management checklist of some sort, even if it's handwritten. Like you got to keep yourself on track, and it's hard. And I think everybody kind of deals with that, especially with as wild as this world is. Everything that's going on and the attention, the digital space, and all that. So
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. there's a lot of little things that you can do, but yeah, I mean those little bitty things that'll keep you busy for a bit. And then of course from there, just write blogs. I mean that's a continuous effort forever. So stuff like
And those
that.
don't need to
That'll
be
be
long.
really
I
good.
mean, that's short writing, a couple
Yeah,
paragraphs.
it's not so centered on the word amount like it used to be. Like it used to be, blogs need to be XYZ words. Actually, really, really cool trick. So this is something that a lot of people, I mean, agencies use. And it's called the Skyscraper Method. So if you are in a business and you're like, what the fuck do I write? Google, Google up some of your competition, Google up some other people. So look up what people would search for whenever they're trying to find like a product, and then find other blogs. Now the skyscraper method is, let's say you find a blog that's like 8 things to do when you want to go camping, and it's on a camping site and you run a camping company. Okay, well, we can already determine that blog is ranking very well, and that is a very good, it's high, all that. So now take that blog, rewrite it, and make it 10 things. And it will have all of the proven content, but it will also have more content. And so Google would prefer that over the 8, because it's like, hey, I can give more information to my viewers. And that's free.
Yeah, no, that's I've actually repurposed some things like that I've found, that old blog articles from companies that send things out, and it even gives you ideas. You get this, blow your mind. You can also turn that into video content.
Yep.
Turn on your camera. You got these 8 things or these 10 things. Put a sticky note on your computer. Just go live or shoot a video and say, hey, hey, I want to talk to you about the top 5 camping tools for 2022.
I'd say
this,
a lot of people don't like getting on cameras. And so if all you do is say, you know what, I don't care, and I'm going to hop on a camera, and you start doing lives and you start doing whatever, you'll get more benefit. I mean, there's a reason why YouTube ads are actually a lot cheaper than people think. And it's because people don't want to get in front of a video camera. And I mean, but it builds rapport. It puts a face to a voice. I mean, I saw, whenever I started doing lives, I saw such a massive increase, just because people are like, oh, he is a real person, you
can identify so much about a person, right? The way you talk, the way you act, your personality. You can tell so much about a person. And I've heard in the realtor space, realtors say that, they start doing lives, even if they're not live videos, just YouTube, pre-recorded, put to YouTube. And they've had people find them and watch their videos. And then when they need the service, they call and they meet them, and they're like, yep, I want to work with you because I already feel like I know you.
Exactly.
And that's the goal of business, is to make connections and make money, right?
Yes, sir.
It's all about revenue. So, but I was curious, one more thing before we wrap up. This one came to me this morning as I was thinking about it. Is there anything that you see out there, and all the things you see, that is a big mistake that you see people trying to do way too early, that they could really put on the back burner in all of these different steps and everything?
I'd say ads. I see people jump into ads way earlier than they need to. People look at ads in terms of sales, but a better way to look at ads is more so eyes. A lot of people will jump straight into ads and be like, oh, I'm going to get all this traffic and get all these sales. But they completely overlook the fact that, let's say, their website is trash and they have 0 online presence, and all
and they're bouncing in 10 seconds once hitting the website.
Yeah, because it's not loading.
It's not loading, or it looks like crap. It looks like 1995, or there's 0 content on it. Yeah.
Exactly. So that is a massive thing. And another thing is even getting ads started without the right budget. A lot of people think that it's still 2017 and you can run an ad with $100 and make a bunch of sales. But I typically say the barrier to enter for ads, if you're trying e-commerce, you gotta at least spend like $2,000-$3,000 a month minimum. Otherwise, you're just not going to get in front of enough people, And then of course it depends on, Google ads, inbound versus Facebook ads, emotional outbound. I mean, you've got stuff like that. But yeah, ads, I just see people doing ads way too early, and they end up not getting what they want. They end up wasting the money, when they should instead have been focusing on something like, let's do branding or organic. Make sure you have your organic methods squared away first before you do ads. If you are not getting organic leads, and you don't have, $30,000 to just drop, do not do ads.
Well, there should be like a layer. I'm trying to remember the term for it, but there should be kind of a layer to your ads, right? Let's just say you do a Facebook ad. The idea is to get people to look at the ad, right, and get into your pixel or whatever it is, right? And then you should be taking that information and say, well, who's already seen it? Now running a different ad to that group of people, right. Retargeting, and just keep doing that. And you might have to do that 3, 4, 5 different times to try and get somebody lined up.
I mean, and another thing you can learn that you don't have to do just ads. So if you look at ads as just eyes, you can get ads to run to collect an email campaign and then retarget via an email campaign, drastically cheaper than ads. You can do, email is powerful. We have a copywriter that does like some witchcraft that I don't know about, but she's got like a 40% open rate. Like, that's absurd.
Wow. That is good.
I mean, like she gets a 40% open rate. Now, of course, to do that, like, she purges the list. She has warm-up email sequences. It's a full professional
it's an art.
thing. Yeah, it's
There's an art and a skill to it. Yeah.
But yeah, like, just jumping into ads too early is the biggest thing I see.
No, that does not surprise me at all. So, yeah, it was one of those that hit me this morning. I'm like, oh, that's get Patrick's interesting take on that one. So, but we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. But I've got your Facebook here for those that are on that happen to be watching it. It's facebook.com/PTRKBert. If you're in the Vetrepreneur Tribe, you probably already know the guy.
It's actually like just about all of my social media. So
yeah, I'm sure it's probably consistent. Not surprised by that at all. Yeah, so you can connect with him there, and he's also given me a couple of guides on SEO and some other things. I think Google was one of them. So we are going to throw that on the website as a resource, and I'll have a link in the description for everything. So go check that out, download those, and it gives you a little checklist to get started anyway, and try and get through these things. So Patrick, I appreciate you being here.
Oh, of course, man.
I'll let you get back to your day. I'm sure it's nice and beautiful and much warmer than it is here in Central Illinois, down there in Texas.
I'm sure. What's the weather up there?
Actually, I think we're having a high of like 42 today. So it's a warm front coming in.
I think we got some interesting weather. It was like 30 degrees the other day or something.
Oh man, you guys ought to be prepared. That's not good. Not good for Texas.
We ain't prepared for that.
Well,
you remember what happened last year?
Yeah, I definitely remember what happened last year.
It's what, 33? Oh, well, yeah, but you're from Massachusetts, so I'm not. I wouldn't. I'd move too.
Yeah, you wouldn't survive in that, would you?
Yeah, that's funny.
So awesome, Patrick. Once again, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Of course.
People reach out to him. Get the guides.
Yep.
So, all right, I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. You take care.
Yep, you too.